We are 5 weeks into football and I'm doing exactly what I do at every point in this season, which is develop an extreme overconfidence in my ability to predict games. If you're new to this channel, my name is Scott Levy. I was a top MBA professor. I've run growth for a lot of exciting startups, but one of my passions and something that gets me excited is trying to find value in predicting outcomes or the future. This, combined with my love for the NFL, drives me to tinker with sports betting. And that's what I do. I tinker. It's a hobby of mine. But after last week where I lost all of my sports bets, I took a step back and I thought to myself, what does good performance even look like? And really, what am I doing? That led me down this rabbit hole to investigate different aspects of the sports betting industry and sort of face my own biases. And ultimately, I found that there's a lot of deception going on. Sounds obvious to some of you, maybe many of you. To me, picking my head up and doing a little bit of analysis helped me get there. And that's what I want to share in today's video, the things that jump out to me as the biggest deceptions of the sports betting industry. I think the first place you have to start are the experts, the analysts, the people on TV selling that they know how to predict outcomes of games. You look at the records, something like 25-20, and at least I think to myself, wow, that's really good. That should even offset the fees. So if I were just with them, I would be making money doing this. But a simple question changed my perspective. And that question is, what's the benchmark? When you're dealing with the markets, you're benchmarking against the S&P 500 or the Russell, or you establish what you want to try and outperform. When it comes to sports betting, I didn't really have that. I know you want to be above 500, but can we come up with something that's a little bit stronger of a benchmark to measure performance against? And what I came up with is statistically significantly better than a coin flip. Some of these experts are 25-20. Okay, some of them are 20-25. All of these out of like 45 games in that example are easily achieved through flipping a coin. And it's really tight. Like I would expect those to be outcomes if you were to just flip a coin for all of these games. So do these people know something or are they just getting lucky? There's actually enough data to get started answering this question. The first thing I did is I went to a site called Fantasy Nerds and I looked at records of all the best experts. These are people on ESPN, CBS Sports. Now there are plenty of other experts, but why not go for the biggest publications? They're experts. And there have been like 78 games that they've predicted. They're just trying to predict winner and loser. And the best person has predicted 50 out of 78, but you have plenty of people who have gotten a majority of the games wrong. 50 out of 78 seems really good. How can we prove that this was not chance, that somebody just flipped, if heads was winning, somebody just flipped heads 50 out of 78 times? Well, we look for confidence intervals. So by using basic statistics, we can get to a confidence interval, which shows that this person's performance is unlikely due to chance. And I'll explain what I mean. If you have a record of 47-31 out of those 78 games, won 47 of them, there's a 95% probability that your performance is due to that person and not due to chance. It's what we call a 95% confidence interval. If you hit 50, so you're 50-28, that would mean there's a 99% probability that this outcome was not due to chance. Okay, great. So if someone can really pick the outcomes, then we're expecting them to be 47-31 or better. And if you look at the experts on Fantasy Nerds, there are 3 out of the 26 people who did this. However, and there's a big caveat here, those people did not take into account the spread. The spread is super important because that's what evens the odds in gambling. If you don't take the spread into account, there's a heavy favorite, like one team is supposed to win the game by 15 points and you choose that team, the likelihood is they're gonna win. So you're just padding your stats of picking a winner without taking into account the evening of the spread. So with this, I would say there's one person where there's a 99% chance that they outperformed, randomness, but they still weren't able to do this in any meaningful way for gambling. This is just straight up picking it. I want to say one more thing on sports experts because I find it so interesting. You may notice when you go to their site, there's like 10 different bets. There's the lock bet, the lock of the year bet, the game of the week bet, the whatever. This is a brilliant marketing tactic. When you are flipping a coin, like let's say 16 times a week for each game, the best thing you can do is start to break these ones up, because the likelihood that one of these series starts to emerge where you're flipping more heads is better. Like law of large numbers for flipping a coin is not good because it'll revert to the mean of 50%. But if you're breaking this down into individual series and you have like 20 series, then 10 of them or 5 of them are going to start to look really good. So when you go on a sports expert's website, be wary of this tactic where there are plenty more series going on that are hidden, but they're highlighting these bets because they're the ones that are, even if they're lucky, they're the ones that are looking like the best. It reminds me of that old betting scam where you could message like 100 people, 50 of them would get one pick, 50 would get the other. So 50 would win. Then you say another free bet and you do it again, 25 and 25, and 25 of them will win. And then after week 4, you have 6 people who are now 4-0. They've received a message from you every week and they're 4-0. And then for week 5, you say $100 for these picks and they'll all pay you. And then, you'll send 3 and 3. And then for the next week, it'll be $500. Like you can use all of these manipulation tactics to trick people into thinking you can predict outcomes when in reality, it seems impossible. The personal biases that affect us when we place sports bets. The first one I want to talk about is hindsight bias. Now, this isn't caused by the sports betting industry. This is just a personal bias. And what it is if we make a bet and that bet wins, we have this bias to go back and say that we knew something or we could predict the outcome. When we lose, we write it off as bad luck. In reality, it could just be the coin flip. We're right some of the time, we're wrong some of the time, and we don't know anything. I'll talk in a second about how sports betting companies lean into this a little bit, but the next one I want to talk about is the illusion of control. You may have noticed apps like DraftKings provide more and more data for you to use in your analysis. Here's where all the money's being bet, here's who's betting on this team, here's the trend lines, here's how things have moved, here are player statistics, here's weather statistics. All these do is give you an illusion of control in a false sense of confidence when you make a bet on a random outcome. Best case scenario, and this would be like some genius using all of this data, sure, it could give you a little bit of an edge in terms of probability to see what's gonna happen, but it doesn't mean that you're able to better predict the outcome because you have all of this data. Now, this illusion of control paired with the hindsight bias make us think that with all of this data and research we were doing, we cracked the code and we were able to make a profit on our bet, when in reality, again, we might have just flipped the coin the right way. And what it does is it gives us another bit of confidence as we head into the next bet that we're making. Take point number 1, which is experts, analysts, everybody out there telling you that they know what's going to happen. And take point number 2, which is this illusion of control or us feeling like we've been able to predict something. And now you get into something that is a little bit more deceiving psychologically from the sports betting industry. And that is encouraging riskier behavior. There's a lot of promotions on DraftKings for 4-leg parlays for your money back if you do things that are plus 400, which means there's an under 20% chance of it happening. Now, they do give you your money back, but psychologically, they're softening you to make these bets in the future. Every promotion you do, a same game parlay, a 4-leg parlay, a parlay where if you make 3 of them but miss 1, they'll give you your money back because you knew everything, you just caught a bad beat. All this stuff continues to reinforce this behavior of doing the riskier thing. Parlays are going to be worse odds than straight up bets. If DraftKings can slowly get that dopamine drip going so that you're more likely to run parlays, that's going to end up over the long run being better for them. Again, self-explanatory, but this strategic and deliberate promotional strategy works against us. I am not saying you can't win money from sports betting. There are plenty of arbitrage things that you can do in order to play the odds and the books against each other. And that is possible in order to walk away profitable over time. But what I am talking about is just not paying attention to odds arbitrage and just predicting something in the future. It feels less and less exciting the more that I take a step back. I'll still do it. I'll still have fun doing it, but a nice reminder, keep this all in perspective. If you are betting, obviously good luck to every one of you. I'll root for every single one of you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.